was actually approached by two colleagues. I teach at Ohio University, and they came to me. They were the executive producers. They found the original funding for it, and I'm an old English major. I read those same 4 Dunbar poems back in my anthology of American. Then I said, yeah, I got this. And then this world just opened up to me, and I just had no idea, you know, the man is far more than just those 4 poems, obviously. So I just became pretty much an obsession after that. It actually got kind of contentious with executive producers. Thankfully, they retired. I outlasted them. And I just kept on going after the money ran out. I just got put my own money into it. There's too much. I didn't want to leave anything out, basically.
I don't think you did leave anything out. And then just to think about the women in his life who have spent their lives making sure that his legacy was honored, from his mother to his ex-wife, because they understood the power that he was. So do we have questions from the audience? Thoughts? Ed?
Okay. Oh.
Wonderful film.
Thank you.
2 questions. How old was Matilda, his mother, when she died?
Late 80s, I think. Yeah.
Yes, I stepped out briefly to use the toilet when I came back.
That happens.
If I had not left, I probably would have answered my own question. But what led up to the ugly night he had with Alice?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Really, I think it was, you know, the alcohol, the pressure of, you know, knowing that he was basically a dying man, worrying about his mother. I just think these things multiple causes, I think. Yeah. Well, he was in his 34th year. He was just short of his 34th year. He was born in June.
Which is incredible that he accomplished what he accomplished in 33 years.
It is amazing.
I mean, that is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So we have a question right here in the back.
Yeah.
I do understand that he was born on June 27th, which is today.
We're a day off of it, right? We're a day off.
And I don't remember the place in New York that he was hanging out, where there was always so much trouble.
The Tenderloin District? Yeah.
The Tenderloin District. I believe that's probably where he started drinking.
Yeah, you know, there was a girlfriend I found in the letters that she kind of, you know, reprimanded him for drinking. So he was drinking early, but I really think the illness is what complicated things, you know. And just the frustration of trying to walk that line, trying to make money, trying to write what he felt was in his heart, but also, again, having to make money and, you know, kind of walk that line.
So he did do when Cage Bird sings.
Excuse me, say that again?
He did write that. And
Yes, and
I think that's one of the common misconceptions, is that Maya Angelou wrote that, but she was always reciting what Paul Dunbar wrote. So
and I was so pleased to find that clip of her explaining it, you know, perfectly and doing that wonderful reading.
I just want to know, I'm a distant cousin of Dunbar, but also, this was amazing, and I think it was amazing because I just started researching my history and to find out that connection through the Freedom Trail.
Yeah, I also think that his wife's separation had a devastating effect on his health also. And my question to you is, how many pieces of literature altogether was compiled by him, including music and spoken word?
I think it's 3 or 4 novels, 3 or 4 collections. collections of short stories, and I've been guessing how many books of poetry, because some of them were reprinted and you know, with those illustrations from the Hampton Club. But it's an amazing amount, and yeah, and the lyrics, you know, and the librettos, I mean, how could one man do all this before the age of 34? It's just, and being ill, the last, well, I think approximately 4 years of his life, he knew he was doomed, and he kept going. I think I would have just folded, you know, just kind of amazing. Yeah.
Yes, I was interested and intrigued by the relationship or the dynamic between him and Booker T. Washington. One obviously pursuing or advocating physical training versus literary pursuits. And I would think both representing different dynamics of people in general. I just didn't understand why there was an animosity, I suppose, between the two. It was almost as if Booker T was saying all people of color should pursue and some type of physical training and ignore the books, you know, as opposed to seeing that there's room for both. And that they're, you know, just like now, where people are more inclined to pursue the trades versus versus college. So I'm wondering if you could speak to that, because I found that kind of interesting. And, you know, I know, having spent a lot of time in corporate, I think sometimes for people of color, there just doesn't seem to be more room. There's only room for one at the table. And I think that's a false dynamic that we sometimes get caught up in too. So I definitely could see that, you know, as it was explained between.
I think when he wrote that essay, he was more leaning toward Du Bois's Talent 10th concept. Dunbar did acquiesce and change his mind and soften later. He wrote the lyrics to the song. And there's actually, he did write a laudatory essay about Booker T. Washington later. So he did kind of realize that there had to be a balance. Yeah. But
And I think
as a
Booker
young
T.
man, you know.
And I think Booker T found himself at the odds against people during his time also.
Yes.
It's just Booker T.
Yes.
Considering that Chandler, he made his name famous on the dialect and using black dialect, but then again, Zora and Dunbar, when they used white dialect, dialect for the whites, it did not work. That's something in America, they would accept the dialect from black people as opposed to white people.
You know, not so much when he started, he was in Dayton near Cincinnati. There was a lot of German immigrants there, so he did try. He experimented with different dialects, but for some reason, when he would write these white characters in novels, and that doesn't really have anything to do with one's ethnicity. It's got to do with whether you respond to the writing. You know? Oh, okay.
Does America accept the southern dialect as far as more is what they wanted from a black character?
Yeah, I mean, that was, again, he was so pressured to make a living that he was kind of forced to write more dialect than he really wanted to. I think he felt kind of cursed by that. Yeah, and he was, in the documentary, it mentions that he was trying to go against the stereotypical stuff that you would find in Georgina Harris.
And that was, what's his name, did Contra, he did not want the dialect also.
Who's that?
The author of Contra, the Contra woman.
Chestnut.
Chestnut,
yeah.
I'm just totally intrigued by this entire amazing history of our people evolving from this whole concept of literary to becoming more radical in how we look at each other, whether it's American Black or foreign Black. And I think we still have this dichotomy of a struggle that was created during slavery that is still with us today in terms of, but we have a little thing in the South that goes like this: if you're Black, stay back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're white, you're right. And it went further than that because colorism is still with us. And that is a big issue even today when we're talking, can we talk with Roxbury Presbyterian Church, with Dr. Rich Walker, the trauma center. We're constantly talking about racism, the stereotypical, whether we're called Black, African Americans, but we're coming from other cultures, that we're still this color, but there's a better than you, and you know, so I see, yes, it's just so amazing to see the evolution of us as we continue to evolve. And this was very, very intriguing for me to see this type of history being played out in Dunbar, the writing. And I'm a poet and I love to write, but the Burr Rabbit stories that my mother talked about in Alabama when I was growing up in the 50s. I think it's just so amazing to see.
But I think it's also amazing to see what he got to accomplish as a Black man in America during a time when Black people in America weren't allowed to, and it was because he was in Ohio, it's because people, right? I mean, I think that having all that information in this film helps us put together this string of time, it's like 1862, 1890, like all of these things that are happening, and he's just moving along with it, and to see that he could actually navigate that was pretty amazing.
Well, that was one of the things I alluded to, kind of conflict I had with the executive producers. They wanted kind of the truncated version of Paul Dunbar, and I couldn't allow that. I really wanted to provide the context, because I had to learn it as well, you know? My brother John. Oh, we got somebody, I'm sorry, John. Sorry.
I just want to thank you for putting this film together, because I, like you, Lisa, this opened up a whole new world for me of Paul Laurence Dunbar. And I have a book that was my father's, and I thought I knew something, but I knew nothing of his life. But my main question was to you: did you put this film on this day because of his birthday? Did you know? I just wanted to be sure, because I had no idea until they said it in the film.
Thank you, Carmen, yes, all about curation.
Hi, thank you so much for the film. First question is, where can I get a copy? Because I'd love to see it again, and always
It's
things
online,
that.
oh, we didn't tell you that, this film is also part of the online film, so tell people if they missed it, it'll be part of the
Okay. My second question is, Bing Davis is a friend of mine.
Oh, great.
I never knew about this connection to Paul Laurence Dunbar, and I'm always fascinated by how the different art forms support and feed off of each other. I'm curious, did you talk to any other artists in the Dayton area who had that direct lineage to Paul Laurence Dunbar?
Well, my two kind of guiding stars were Bing Davis and Herb Martin, who is a scholar and does the recitations. And they're both amazing men. Bing is 86, 87 now, still going strong and raising money for a realistic statue for Dunbar. What's that? Yes, he still is. Yeah, he's an amazing inspiration to the youth of Dayton and beyond. And Herb Martin is amazing too. He's 88. I think he's close to 89, and he just wrote the libretto for an opera called A Knee on the Neck, and that was performed, I think, at Lincoln Center. So these are just amazing women I got to spend a lot of time with over quite a few years, because it took me a long time to put this together.
Okay, we have time for two more questions. I have one right here.
Of course, to his father understood died and sold his home. What was the location of that home? Massachusetts or was it?
That's in Dayton. That was one of the, I think, the first three, which obviously became the Veterans Administration. I really felt I had to put that in as well.
Okay, one more question.
Uh-oh.
I know, we can talk after.
My question, unfortunately, is twofold. First, I want to say that Paul Laurence Dunbar was a big, big influence in Harlem Renaissance to this very day. In fact, the lady that I'm sitting next to grew up in the Paul Laurence Dunbar projects in Harlem, and they've been there since the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
So we need to put that in the diary of, I know there's so much to say about it, it's very varied, but we need to know that I agree, Ohio and everywhere else, but we need to put a shout out for Harlem, because that is so important, and it lifts the self-esteem of blacks in New York as well. So think of that for the next one. And the next one after that. But really what I also wanted to say, of course I learned so much, but I also want to address part of what some people were saying about the difference between like Paul Dunbar's approach versus like Booker T. I mean, I've lived in Washington, I know that there's a lot of blacks that subscribe to this, that, and the other, but we have to understand as black people, corporate is just a thing that came about as a result of social responsibility after the civil rights movement. It's not something that we have had at our disposal throughout our lifetime. So when social responsibility doesn't have to do with corporations, current day, Bezos and whoever else, we go down the line. They're laying people off and hiring blacks, etc. We fall back into what we can do, which is technical jobs. Black people have always held technical jobs. So that's it. So it's not like, well, Dunbar versus, you know, it's just a different way of blacks thinking. And we are very varied people.
Yeah.
We had one question over here, whether or not Paul Laurence Dunbar's wife was white or black.
Well, she was
Mixed race.
She was mixed
Mixed race.
Yeah.
One drop. One drop. Thank you so much for your film.